has declared unconstitutional and void the tripartite agreement for joint oil explorations between China, Vietnam, and the Philippines.
Malaking impact nito para sa susunod na mga presidente kasi dapat sundin ng ibang bansa katulad ng China kung mag-joint exploration sila dito sa West Philippine Sea ang constitution natin. Malaking tagumpay ito na ensure ng Supreme Court decision na ang Pilipino ang may control sa joint exploration sa West Philippine Sea at hindi ang ibang bansa katulad ng China.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. The big story tonight.
We begin tonight with the Supreme Court voiding a 2005 government deal with China and Vietnam for joint explorations in the South China Sea. Here is what we know. Voting 12-2 with one abstention, the Supreme Court en banc declared the agreement as unconstitutional as it said the agreement allows wholly owned foreign companies to explore the country's natural resources without full supervision from the state. The Supreme Court says this would violate Article 12, Section 2 of the Constitution, which states that the exploration, development, and utilization of natural resources shall be under the full control and supervision of the state. Any such explorations is reserved for Filipino citizens or corporations or associations that are at least 60% owned by Filipinos.
The case stemmed from a 2008 complaint filed by Bayan Muna party list, including former Congressmen Satur Ocampo and Chodoro Casino. They questioned the oil exploration deal of the Philippine National Oil Company, China National Offshore Oil Corporation, and Vietnam Oil Gas Corporation, which covered over 142,800 square kilometers of the West Philippine Sea. The deal was signed during the administration of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Respondents defended their action, saying the agreement is only for so-called pre-exploration activities for petroleum. The court shut down this claim, noting that it does not remove their intention to discover petroleum, which is tantamount to exploration. Casino welcomed the ruling, even though it took the court almost 15 years to resolve it. He believes the decision remains relevant, as current President Marcos is also planning to enter a joint exploration deal with China. Now, to share his insights on the Supreme Court decision, we have with us via Zoom maritime law expert and director of UP Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea, Attorney J. Batong Bakal. Good evening. Welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, Gretchen, and to all our televiewers. Good evening.
Okay, Attorney, can you explain to us the relevance of this decision? How does this affect future agreements entered by the President with regard to joint explorations?
Well, simply stated, it clarifies that any future deals between the Philippines and any other nation like China would have to comply with our constitutional and legal requirements for petroleum exploration within our jurisdiction. And these are the same requirements that we impose on other companies, private companies that have been doing so for the past several decades already. So at least there is now clarity that any future deal cannot dispense with these constitutional and legal requirements, particularly the ones that were mentioned so far, that of control and supervision by the state, as well as the 60-40 equity requirements.
So I wanted to get into that precisely, Attorney. There were two things that they noted. One is the nature of the partners, which is basically state-owned, fully state-owned by other nations, and the other being the issue of supervision. So what we're saying here is this is not against joint exploration per se, as long as those two conditions, among other things set out by a charter, are complied with.
Yes, Robbie, that's correct. It does not foreclose any kind of joint exploration, but such exploration deals must still comply with the minimum requirements of the Constitution and petroleum laws of the Philippines.
Okay, now, notwithstanding that, let's be realistic here. When it comes to China, you may have no choice. Now, you'll have to deal with Chinook. I mean, either way, especially in a sensitive area like the areas we're talking about here, you will have state-owned and state-controlled enterprises being there. Now, so given that, what are the other options other than the current modes of joint exploration? What other options do we have to still explore joint exploration?
Well, I think that it's really a matter of making the proper arrangements to ensure, number one, full control and supervision of the state. And that ultimately is about decision-making power, which could be expressed in the ultimate decision whether to stop or go ahead with the exploration activity once that has been agreed upon. No? So the final decision has to be with the Philippines. Second, with respect to the 60-40 requirements, no, this can be dealt with in the terms and conditions of the arrangement, whatever arrangement it is that is devised, whether it is with respect to the ownership, shall we say, of the contract. No? For example, in the case of the gas project, was 90% owned by foreign companies and 10% owned by the Philippines through the PNOC. The 60-40 requirement still apply with respect to the sharing of the profits. No? So I guess it really will depend now on how the government will try to ensure that the 60-40 requirements is met at minimum. And this now depends on how they deal, what kind of negotiations they will now have with China. China necessarily has to be the one to adjust its position, no? Given that our parameters, no, the legal parameters for any deal, have already been established.
Take us back to 2008. It's been quite a long time since then. Did full supervision not happen back then? And what exactly needs to be adjusted moving forward?
Well, I think that the problem really is with the terms and conditions of the JMSU, no, the undertaking itself. When you read through it, it really doesn't say anything about the extent of control, the manner of decision-making, shall we say, sharing of the decision-making power. There's nothing said in that agreement about that. And I think that is possibly one reason why the court deemed the agreement to not comply with the requirement of full control and supervision. Now, of course, we have a problem here, and that is the fact that the full text of the decision has not yet been released. So how the court came to the conclusion that full control and supervision was not satisfied, no, will have to be clarified in the full text of the decision.
We appreciate that, and that is, fair to note. Notwithstanding that, I will ask you, how, as far as you know, logistically, capacity-wise, how simple or how complicated a question is that? Assuming that we can define it, but full and whole supervision, I mean, how simple is that for the Philippine state?
I think that this depends on how full control and supervision is essentially defined in the agreement. No? So, for example, if the court deems this condition to be satisfied by a condition which allows only the Philippines to decide with finality whether to go ahead or to end the exploration activity, that might already be deemed full control and supervision. No? Because ultimately the power to stop an activity is a manifestation of that full control. And I think this was implied in some previous decisions of the Supreme Court when it came to mining agreements, mining contracts. So we will have to really see how the court analyzed the JMSU in order to make definitive conclusion about this. No, but there are other ways. I would imagine that there would be other ways as well to define, the extent of control and supervision that the state should be deemed to exercise, depending now on the terms and conditions of the arrangement.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa oras nyo. Maritime expert Jay Batong-Bakal. President Bongbong Marcos led the distribution of some 16 million pesos worth of assistance to families affected by the devastating torrential rains in Misamis Occidental. Marcos distributed envelopes, each with 5,000 pesos as government aid to families adversely affected by the December 24 flooding in Guingoog City, Misamis Oriental. The president and his delegation, however, failed to visit Oroquieta City earlier in the day because of strong rains. But in his speech, President Marcos assured residents that the government is doing what it can to make sure they can return their lives to normal. Marcos has also directed the DPWH to fast-track the rehabilitation of damaged infrastructure in the province.
Ginagawa namin lahat upang makauwi na kayo at mabalik na kayo sa inyong mga tahanan at makabalik na kayo sa inyong mga trabaho. Basta sana naman ang weather natin ay huminahon ng konti at pagbigyan tayo ng konti at kami ay susuporta para makabalik na sa normal.
The low-pressure area inside the Philippine Area of Responsibility and the shear line continued to dump rain in parts of the country on Wednesday. The LPA was last spotted 475 kilometers east of Surigao City, Surigao del Norte, earlier this afternoon. Pag-asa said that the LPA remains less likely to develop into a tropical depression within the next 24 hours, but rain from the weather system persists. Moderate to intense rain can be expected in eastern and central Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte, and Surigao del Sur. Light to heavy rain, meanwhile, is expected in other parts of Visayas and Mindanao. Pag-asa has also warned that there may be more floods and landslides in the affected areas. After the break, a portion of the Marikina Bridge has been temporarily closed for repairs after a 30-meter crack was found on its westbound sidewalk. We'll discuss the matter with Marikina City's Chief City Engineer Kennedy Sueno when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Okay, we're working hard. We worked through the pandemic and we have short staffing. They brought in traveler nurses. It doesn't fill the gap. We still have a bunch of vacancies and we're overworked. So we really need, and it's hard on the patients because we need safe staffing for them.
We came into nursing to take care of people because we care about them. We come from compassion. And it's very difficult to come into the hospital every single day and know that we're not able to give them the care that they truly deserve.
Let's be clear, it's not about money. That's right. The one issue that they care about the most, my friends, is the enforcement of the law. Yes. And I want everyone to know that last year a law was passed in New York State.
Yes, it was. Yes,
which
it was.
required safe staffing. What does that mean? It means the imposition of ratios from patients to nurses.
That's right.
And was it enforced?
No! Management should be ashamed of themselves. They have put these nurses in this situation. I do not know how they sleep at night.
And we are not going to stand by when this hospital puts profits over patient care. We are not going to stand by when they have ran this operation into the ground and now have 500 plus vacancies. It's utterly ridiculous.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News. Newly appointed Defense Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. has urged several DND officials to stay in their posts after filing the resignations earlier today. Brian Castillo with the report.
After replacing Jose Faustino Jr. as Defense Chief, Defense Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. had this request to senior members of the DND. stay. This comes after 9 senior officials from the DND, including undersecretaries and assistant secretaries, tendered their courtesy resignations after Faustino stepped down from his post. Galvez, however, returned the resignation letters and encouraged the officials to continue with their work. Among those was DND Undersecretary Angelito De Leon.
We all agreed to stay, the senior leaders, the undersecretaries, and the assistant secretaries. While we are ready with our courtesy resignation in accordance with customs, there is nothing extraordinary about it. He immediately gave the order, everybody stays put, and hence nobody would resign or get out of DND.
De Leon also denied rumors of a mass resignation within the agency. The official explained that submitting a resignation is customary and a procedural requirement when a new leader steps in.
Key officials will render their courtesy resignation for the purpose of giving a free hand to the newly designated head of the department. This is nothing extraordinary.
According to DND spokesperson Arsenio Andulong, Galvez also had a private meeting with Faustino to begin their transition process. Faustino briefed Galvez on the different accomplishments of the department, along with his recommendations to ensure continuity in the agency. The new DND chief also met with senior officials and heads of bureaus and held a discussion with members of the executive committee. In a statement, Galvez emphasized the importance of employee morale in the DND and professionalism in the AFP in maintaining the trust and confidence of the Filipino people. Despite the sudden change of leadership, De Leon is confident that the Army, Navy, and Air Force will remain loyal to the Constitution. Proof of this was the attendance of all key officials in the AFP at the traditional New Year's call at Camp Aguinaldo on Wednesday morning.
I think there is no issue on the morale. The morale remains high. We are focused on our mandate.
De Leon also shrugged off rumors of a destabilization plot within the AFP, and conducting a loyalty check, he said, is not necessary. For News 5, Brian Castillo. We are One News.
Marikina City Mayor Marcy Chodoro has ordered the temporary closure of a lane on the westbound portion of the city's main bridge after it was placed under geotechnical investigation and structural repairs. Chodoro said the 200-meter bridge's provisional and partial closure stems from a 30-meter crack that was seen on its westbound sidewalk over the weekend. Other portions of the bridge remain safe for motorists and pedestrians based on the city government and the Department of Public Works and Highways' initial structural assessment. Chodoro, however, demanded the suspension of the Sumulong Flood Interceptor project after it allegedly caused structural damage to the Marikina Bridge. The Marikina mayor warned that civil and criminal charges may be filed if this remains unacted upon. Now here to give us some updates on the Marikina Bridge partial closure, joining us live via Zoom is Engineer Kennedy Sueño, Marikina City's Chief City Engineer. Good evening. Welcome to The Big Story, sir.
Good evening po at salamat po sa inyong pag-imbita.
Magandang gabi po. Siguro po, umpisahan natin updates on the structural integrity ng tulay.
Sa ngayon, ang DPWH sa yung contractor ongoing ho yung kanilang paggagawa ho ron. May mga ginagawa na silang rectification dun sa area. So ongoing pa sila hanggang ngayon.
Okay, may posibilidad po ba na isara po yung bridge na ito, and how are you dealing with the repairs for now? Meron po ba tayong alternate route?
Well, ginagawa namin ngayon, meron kaming mga ginawang plano para doon sa traffic namin para hindi man mahamper yung pasok at labas ng sasakyan sa city. Pero hanggang ngayon, wala pa namang resulta o wala pang matibay na result doon sa ginagawa ng testing ng DPWH.
Could you, pwede po natin pag-usapan sandali, maybe you could explain to us yung concern ni Mayor Chodoro tungkol dito sa Sumulong Flood Interceptor project. Was it really something that caused damage to the Marikina Bridge?
Yung construction ng box culvert doon sa Sumulong Interceptor, ito yung nasa gilid mismo ng tulay. Naghukay doon, gumawa ng box culvert, nagbaon ng mga pilote, may portion kasi dun sa dulo, sa approach, na hindi nabaunan, siguro mga almost 3 meters. So umulan nung Friday, ilang araw tayong inon ng ulan. So pumasok ngayon ang tubig doon sa area kung saan walang nakabaon na piloto. Yun yung dahilan kung bakit nag-discover yung ilalim ng tambak doon sa approach ng tulay.
Gaano po ka-major yung damage dun po sa tulay at tingin niyo po ba maayos po ito sa lalong madaling panahon?
Kaya nga, nag-issue nga ang aming mayor ng indefinite suspension hanggat hindi malinaw doon sa kung anong engineering technology o procedure ang gagawin nila para lang ma-assure yung structural integrity ng tulay na yan.
Pero in the meantime po, sa kabilang banda, doon sa banda naman ng sumulong flood interceptor project, ano po yung implikasyon nun? If it is going to be suspended and work on that is going to be suspended, ano po yung implication naman nun?
Yung flood interceptor, sumulong interceptor, ito yung additional step kasi para doon sa tubig naman namin na magagaling doon sa Balanti Creek. So, siyempre, pagka hindi naman gawa, may konting problema rin.
Alright, kamusta naman po yung sitwasyon ng traffic now and what is your reminder for all the residents of Marikina who pass by that bridge?
Sa ayun, ang traffic naman namin, siyempre, dahil napiktado yung tulay, mayroong konting pagbigat ng traffic pero namamanage naman. At ang problema lang, mayroong mga trucks kasi na dumadaan sa tulay ngayon, hindi sila makakadaan doon. Kasi light vehicles lang ang allowed na dumaan muna doon.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong updates at abangan po namin yung sagot po dun sa aming mga katanungan dun po sa bridge. Thank you very much, Marikina City Chief Engineer and Kennedy Sueno.
Please stay with us. The big story. We'll be right back.
still watching the big story here on One News. In other news, what was supposed to be a fun day at sea turned into a nightmare for one couple in Mariveles, Bataan. Jonalyn Malakaman and her partner, Leonardo Capino, were taking a swim at Barangay Mountain View in Mariveles when she went into labor. Initial reports claim that after Jonalyn gave birth, the baby was accidentally dropped in the water. The father swam after the baby, recovered it, and the couple made their way to Mariveles Hospital. Unfortunately, the baby was declared dead on arrival. Investigations are underway to determine the circumstances behind this truly bizarre incident.
Spare, a memoir by Prince Harry, has hit bookstores and is making record sales on its first day of release. Its publisher, Penguin Random House, said that the book has so far sold 400,000 copies across hardback, audio, and e-book formats. The book contains accounts of Harry's personal struggles and intimate revelations about the British royal family. The book has since garnered the attention, gathered attention ahead of its official release, with leaked excerpts, including one about a fight with Prince William back in 2019, and other revelations about his father, King Charles III, stepmother, and now Queen Consort Camilla, and his sister-in-law, Kate. The royal family has yet to make any official statement about the book.
And before we go, the Philippines' very own Dolly De Leon lost to Black Panther's Angela Bassett as Best Supporting Actress at the 2023 Golden Globes. Still, De Leon made history as the first Filipina to be nominated in the prestigious awards show. That's for her performance in Triangle of Sadness. This year's Golden Globe Awards showcase a night of Asian American representation as diversity takes the spotlight after the awards show was boycotted in 2022 over an ethics and diversity scandal. Malaysian actress Michelle Yeoh was honored for her leading role in dimension-hopping action movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. Her co-actor, Vietnam-born Ki Huy Chien, meanwhile, won Best Supporting Actor. The Best TV Comedy Award was bagged by Abbott Elementary, which tells the story of teachers at a predominantly black public school. Austin Butler was crowned Best Actor for his leading role in Elvis, while Argentina 1985 was named Best Non-English Language Film. Ryan Murphy, who brought several gay and transgender stories to television, meanwhile received a Lifetime Achievement Award. Other major award winners include House of the Dragon, named Best Drama Series on TV, Kevin Costner, who won Best Actor in a TV series, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, named Best Animated Film. The top awards this year were bagged by Steven Spielberg's The Fableman, which was named Best Movie Drama, and dark comedy Banshees of Inisherin, which won Best Movie Musical or Comedy and Best Screenplay.
And congratulations at mabuhay pa rin kay Dolly De Leon.
She really brought honor to the Philippines.
Representing us and making all of us proud on the big stage.
And speaking of being proud, nanonood ka ba kanina? Ginebra at yung Bay Area.
Ano update?
Pinoy yung nanalo. Hindi pala. Bay Area pala.
Game 7.
Game 7 pala. Pinoy yung mananalo sa Game 7.
Sige. Okay, that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more in-depth analysis. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
The big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. Ako po si Gretchen Ho. Stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.